Welcome to Our Girl Relationships. We talk about the problems people face in their day to day lives. Let's start with the video.
My husband and I have always been the type to not be so bothered about our work life details. I mean, don't get me wrong, I know what his job description is and where he works, but I've never known the bits and pieces of his finance job, and so doesn't he, at least when I worked and initially. I really thought it was just the two of us trying to separate work from our relationship. But boy, was I so wrong. I was so wrong in thinking that my husband, who was meant to be my soulmate, had something good for me in his heart. The man who I thought was the one that was supposed to admire me, protect me, and most importantly, love me the most, turned out to be someone that was far from what I thought. Now, I'm not only questioning this relationship, but also questioning myself and my husband and just everything. But well, I think that's enough brain scramble for now. I'll just jump into the situation. The discovery of the messed up things my husband and the company he worked at said, began when my husband's colleague's wife, Vioana, came over to our house. I've known Vioana for a long time, even before I got married, because she's the one person who introduced me to the neighborhood I lived in with my husband when we first moved here. Back then, my husband had a different job, but our bond just got closer as a couple of years went by, and my husband got a job at the same company as her husband. I guess that gave us more of a reason to be in loop with each other, since her and my husband both had gotten pretty close themselves and started traveling, hanging out together outside work. It feels somewhat like a woman looking out for other women situation because that is what led to the revelation regarding the situation that took place. Vioana was over for her weekly coffee, and we had a nice chat while listening to some good music. Then, out of nowhere, the topic of our husbands and their company came up because I was sort of complaining about how unfair it was that my husband didn't take me to any of his work events, gatherings, celebrations. I complained about his strict and unfair company policies regarding how only employees aren't allowed to bring their partners to their workplace or how their partners aren't allowed to show up to their work to drop off lunch and such. I could just see the look on that screamed concern. Vioana looked like she wanted to say something so desperately, but just couldn't get herself to, because she didn't know if it was the right thing to do or not. Now, this might be the thing you guys might call me the a-hole for, but I began pressing Vioana regarding her awkward silence, and she simply just refused to speak. It led to me starting to get annoyed, and so did she. It was an awkward situation overall, and honestly, I wouldn't blame her for her reaction. We got into this small back and forth where she told me that even though she wants to tell me everything, she doesn't really owe me an explanation, especially seeing how my husband is. That just confused me even more. But now that I think about it, that was single handedly the most sensible thing she said. So the interaction between us gave me a lot to think about. So much so that I ended up doing another thing that I'm not the proudest of, going through my husband's phone. Now, this isn't something I've done for the first time. My husband surprisingly happens to have his phone open and unlocked the majority of the time. So even though I've used his phone a lot of times, I've never felt the need to go through it or act as jealous or possessive wife. This time, unfortunately, things were just different. I couldn't keep my curiosity and mainly my anxiety to myself. And so I just decided to scroll through his phone for peace of mind. I was really expecting nothing to come out of it. I mean, what's the worst that could happen here? Maybe he just didn't want to take me there, or maybe he just wanted to enjoy himself. Well, it didn't take me too long to get the slap on the face I needed to be proven wrong. And it was all hidden in a group chat I thought I'd never even find in a million years. It was his office group chat. And no, before you guys jump to the conclusion that he was having an affair and made the group chat under a fake name, I think at this point that would have been more affordable to digest, but the office group chat simply was just horrifying. It consisted of picture after picture of women who I'm assuming were my husband's colleagues, partners, all of them getting rated by my husband and his colleagues and his manager on the basis of those ratings, letting them know if they were in to get their partners at the work event or not. This finding was sickening because not only was my husband a member of this group chat, he was the admin along with his manager. I knew this wasn't some sick joke. This was real because the messages on the group chat dated back to a few years ago. I began scrolling and found comment after comments passed by these odd-looking men on absolutely beautiful women. Of course, I was one of them. The comments that they made and all the laughs that my husband got out of my postpartum body were just heartbreaking. I screenshotted as many of these messages as I possibly could, and I sent them all to myself. The next day came as my husband left for work. I packed his things and left them outside one of his colleagues' apartments. I then left him a message wishing him good luck and to have fun rating women from now onwards. That's all that has happened, at least for now. He's not back from work, but has already started blowing up my phone, so much that I just ended up blocking him. I have already begun considering what I need to do and when. Even though my in-laws and parents say this is a huge overreaction, I think I have made up my mind about it. Now, I'm only here for some advice regarding what I can do about this situation. Do I have any legal leg to stand upon? Would that be even worth it? Thanks a lot, guys. Firstly, I would like to thank you all for the amazing words of encouragement you all left me. After so much contemplation, it made me feel like I made the right decision for the first time, and I genuinely believe that I cannot thank you all enough for that. Now, let's get to the update that you guys were so keen on. After all the protests coming from my in-laws and parents, I decided to first call them up and tell them everything that has happened. You guys were absolutely right in predicting that my husband had half-assed the situation to them and told them a way milder version of things than they are. Now, even they're mad at him and refuse to let him inside their house. This man has 4 sisters of his own. You all, and the way that they all called me up to apologize on his behalf was both empowering and saddening. After all that went down, I mustered the courage and began looking up the women mentioned in the group chat, and I found almost all of them. I mean, they weren't a lot to begin with. They were around 7 to 8 women, and all of them were the partners of the men in the same department my husband worked at. It made me wonder if there were other departments with other group chats too. Well, that's way too much to think about currently. So I just ended up going with what I had and messaged them in whatever social media I had of them. I haven't received a lot of responses yet, but from what I can see, almost all of them are furious and just ready to suck the blood out of the men. I'm honestly all in, and I hope you guys are too, because this is going to be a long journey. Hi, everyone. I know this update is later than expected, but there's just so much going on. I thought waiting it out until later would be the best, since I wanted you guys to get the full view of the situation. And well, it's been crazy. Everyone who had messaged the screenshots reached back to me, and they all were in agreement that we needed to report this to the company. And well, it did not end well for everyone involved. With the overwhelming amount of reports filed against the company, especially the managers, the need to file a lawsuit didn't even come up. It led to the immediate termination of the entire department altogether, and possibly much more than that, as they've just started to look into the situation. The situation is so crazy that it also made headlines in our local newspaper, since this company is pretty popular in the city that we live in. Most of the women have also ended up leaving their partners or have started the divorce procedure. My husband is extremely upset at me over all of this, but I just cannot get myself to care about this BS. To me, my main aim is to help myself and these women out of this situation, which I believe I'm doing pretty well, and that's the only validation I need at this point. I know I promised you guys that I'd keep updating, but a lot came up and I just couldn't keep up with the updates. I'm back now, though, and hopefully this post answers all of you guys' pending doubts, questions. Firstly, I never ended up moving out of the house because it was under my name and we've had a prenuptial agreement. I have filed for divorce and we've already been through a few proceedings. I guess the separation has now begun hitting my soon-to-be ex-husband because he's now begging me to reconsider things and forgive him. He's tried numerous times to send me letters and gifts, all of which I've sent back. I'm not sure if he's genuinely remorseful or just missing the comfortable lifestyle. Regardless, I'm not going to give him a chance to find it out myself. All of this courage I've developed is because of the tremendous support you guys have left me. My family and the women involved in this situation have also been of huge help. It feels like we've been through so much together that I've met a new family altogether. We hang out so much together now, and the fact that I've also made amends with Vioana just adds a cherry on top. Overall, I just feel extremely empowered and confident after standing up for myself in a way I was never able to. I hope this post serves as a reminder to all of the women struggling out there that if I can do it, so can you all. Take care, guys. NTA, I think you handled this situation perfectly because the audacity of these men is absolutely unbelievable. Who even thinks it's even slightly appropriate to rate your partner along with your colleagues in a work environment? If things are so bad on this group chat, I can only imagine how worse it must be in real life. No woman deserves such scrummy men. Kudos to you, beautiful ladies, for taking a stand for what you think was right. NTA, oh my God, this story sent shivers down my spine. What kind of sick man lets other men rate his lady? What kind of sick mindset do you even need to have for this? I'm so sorry you and so many other women have had to get their lives uprooted simply because the men in your life couldn't respect you. My sister-in-law can be a nightmare. She's exceptionally controlling and demanding. She takes control over plans and often demands we change our plans to suit her. She's also a liar who presents her side of the story in a way that omits key facts or downplays her own terrible behavior in the situation. Last year, she caused a massive family argument because she took her mom's phone and read her private texts. She used the information she'd found out to make shitty Facebook posts and just cause drama. When confronted, she lied before later admitting it, but saying she's done nothing wrong because her mom had left her phone unlocked. No apology, and everyone just agreed to move on. Her fiancé recently broke off their engagement. He's sick of her behavior, so now things are even worse, as she seems to think that the family should make even more allowances for her because her life is falling apart. 2 months ago, we invited the family over to our house. We said we weren't going to be eating. We were skint. But if people wanted to eat at our house, they were welcome to bring takeout to our house and eat at ours. Sister said she wanted everyone to have a takeaway, so told my partner to just order a takeaway and that we should all eat together. He said no. She argued back and said she had been looking forward to having a takeaway at ours and she didn't understand why he couldn't just do this one thing to make her happy. He again said no. She was welcome to eat whatever she wanted at ours, as was everyone else, but we wouldn't be eating. This was apparently unacceptable to her, so she called my mom crying and said her brother had been horrible to her. Their mom is a very naive lady who instantly believed her, despite the whole phone fiasco last year. And my partner then received a message from his mom saying, "We aren't coming over now. I can't understand why you can't just be kind to your sister." He said, "How have I been unkind?" And mom replied with, "I'm sick of the arguing. I'm done." Then she left the group chat along with the sister. My partner wants a quiet life and to just move on, so invited his mom round on Monday to see our baby, her granddaughter. She spent the time telling my partner that he needs to apologize to his sister because her life is hard. She then asked if she could take the baby to the shops, and he agreed. Unbeknownst to us, she actually took our baby out to see his sister. When she returned with the baby, I asked where she took her. She said the shops. I had a sixth sense about it, so I said, "Did you take her to see sister?" She admitted she had. I was upset that she took my child out to spend time with the person who is so toxic and who never apologizes for her actions, and that she did it behind our backs. I think I deserve to know who my baby is spending time with. I've said I don't want my baby to see the sister until she actually starts to take responsibility for all the drama and hurt she causes. AITA, NTA, a big part of the problem here is your mother-in-law. She raised your sister-in-law and clearly has taught her that her behavior is acceptable. The "I don't want to argue about it" is a cop-out. It's a way to shut her son down and get him to pander to his sister. You don't need your mother-in-law in your house stressing yourself and your husband. Don't let this woman take your child out ever again. You cannot trust her. Also, I have to point out that it is super messed up that none of these people offered to bring you a takeaway. What the hell? They all sound awful, and you'll be better off with less contact you have with them. NTA, and if mother-in-law isn't willing to follow your rules, then I wouldn't allow her to have the baby unsupervised. I would be livid if my mother-in-law or mom took my child to see my brother, knowing I didn't want them to have anything to do with him. You're being far too nice, if anything. My wife and I, late 30s, are parents to a just turned 3-year-old boy. He is and will very likely continue to be an only child. As his parents, we are obviously biased, but we are aware of that bias and try to be as objective as possible. It doesn't do him or the outside world any good if we coddle, shelter, helicopter, or overly favor him. He started private preschool 2 months ago. He attends 4 hours a day, 4 days a week. His terrible twos were relatively mild, and in the last few months, he settled into a pleasant, friendly, funny, and, for 3, relatively attentive disposition. The standard practice at this preschool is to do an assessment 1 month after the child starts school. His came back glowing, funny, pleasant, follow directions, academically advanced. All the warm and fuzzy stuff a parent would want to hear. This past weekend, it's Friday now, he seemed a little off. Not totally wild or obstinate, but not being his normal self for the past few months. We were hearing a few more no's and a bit more agitation. At preschool on Monday, he spilt his lunch. His teacher asked him to clean it up, and shockingly, he responded with, "No, you clean it up, B." Yes, he used the word. When the other teacher asked what he said, he repeated it. Yikes. The teachers told us about it, indicated it was very out of character for him, and we were very apologetic to both teachers who were female. We talked to him about using bad words, impulses, and mood control in general. His mood improved to its normal condition, and the rest of the week was incident-free. However, 2 days after the incident, the teachers asked us to prepare a letter to them and the administration apologizing for teaching our child the B word. Here's the thing. My wife and I aren't perfect, we swear. We say, FS, AH, and occasionally GD to our dog when she's bad. We try to limit it in front of our son, but occasionally it slips out. We do not, however, ever use derogatory curse words. In the 10 years we have been together, and before that, for me, I do not say, and I have never heard my wife say the B word. The nuclear bomb C word, or any of the words derogatory towards color, ethnicity, LGBTQ plus status, sex, religion, or ability, including the derogatory F or R words. I am sure the school thinks he heard the B word from me or my wife, but we simply do not use it. Also, he only likes cartoons, so we haven't exposed him to anything that would have it. I understand kids get things from all types of sources, and I want the school to understand that. The school followed up today asking for the apology letter, but I don't feel like we owe it to them. We have already apologized for him saying it, but don't feel the need to apologize for teaching it to him because we didn't. WIBTA if I refuse to do the apology letter? NTA. It doesn't make sense to me that the school would want an apology letter. How does that solve any problem they have? I'd call the school administrator to find out more. I would also be concerned about where your child heard this word. If you never say it, where could he have learned it that you or a babysitter wouldn't have heard?